Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Melanie and today we are going to have a very cozy evening together. So grab a cup of tea or coffee if you would like to, and we'll get into some cozy recommendations. We will be going over everything fall, not just books, but movies, TV shows, what I like to drink in the fall, my favorite activities. This is all the cozy version of everything. There will be a part 2 to this, which gets into the more darker, spookier things of fall. So look out for that probably around October time. But today we're in for a very cozy night. I do have quite a few book recommendations, so don't worry about that, but I will be starting off with my favorite movies to watch in the fall. Some of these you'll definitely have heard of before or watched yourself. It's classic fall movies, but some of them might be new to you. So let me know in the comments below if you've seen any of these. The first two movies I feel like are very go-to cozy fall movies. The first one being Practical Magic. This one, I'm not going to go into detail on what the synopsis is, but we follow witches. It's a very fun, cozy, northern New England coastal fall vibes. So very fun, you know, a little magic in there as well. And then the second one is Pride and Prejudice, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's mainly fall themed because of the one misty morning scene, you know what I'm talking about. And the score just feels very fall. So the movie itself, I wouldn't say is epitome of fall, maybe more wintry, but to me it makes sense to watch it in the fall as well as read it. I do plan on reading it again this year, hopefully before the end of the year. Picard's playing with his toy right now, so sorry if you hear that in the background. The next movie is Fly Away Home. I'm not sure if you've heard of this, but the main character is a young Anna Paquin, and it's about a girl who goes to live with her estranged father, who lives on a farm, and she ends up finding abandoned goose eggs in the forest behind her house, and then she goes and takes them to incubate them, and they grow up into a pack of geese. What is the word for geese, for a group of geese? I don't know, but she raises them and quickly finds out that they don't really know how to fly south for the winter because they don't have a mother or father goose to show them their natural instincts, and so they build single-manned aircrafts to teach these geese how to fly south. It's a very heartwarming, very cozy movie. I loved this one growing up. I haven't watched it in a while, but I do really want to watch it again this fall. Another one that I haven't watched in a very long time is October Sky. This one features a young boy who lives in a coal mining community and aspires to be a rocket scientist after seeing the Sputnik 1 flying over the sky when that was launched. This one is very fall vibey. The atmosphere, I wouldn't say the content is very fall, but I mean, it's called October Sky for a reason. And that one features a young Jake Gyllenhaal. So lots of younger actors now in these older movies that I'm recommending. But the next one is Matilda. This is about a young girl who has unique powers, who has an awful family, they're very bad to her, and also has an awful principal, and she decides to take matters into her own hand to protect her fellow students. And it's a very cute, fun film. It's also a musical. It's very popular. You probably have heard of it and seen it, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on it. There's a lot to get through in this video, so I will be going a little fast through a few things. The next one is a big one for me, Lord of the Rings. This is the perfect series to watch in the fall. If you have never seen Lord of the Rings, please do for my sake, because it is just the best story, the best vibes, the best atmosphere, and everyone would like it, I feel. So, especially if you read fantasy or books in general, I think you would really much enjoy it. So please do it for my sake, and if you are an avid lover like me, do a rewatch. You know, it's always fun to do a marathon, and maybe you can do some themed food to go along with it. I've seen a lot of people do that on TikTok, and I've really wanted to do it myself, so maybe we'll see if that happens later. And last but not least for the movies is The Fantastic Mr. Fox. I recently just watched this one. This one, the whole look of it is very fall. It's orangey, red, yellow, the whole coloring of this movie. Other than that, it is about a fox who steals from humans, and then ensues a back and forth battle between the animals and the humans. It's a very funny stop motion from Wes Anderson. If you haven't had a chance to look at it like I have, I recommend doing it. It's a very cute one and a lot funnier than I thought it would be. Good boy. And now we're on to TV shows. This is one of my favorite lists, so I'm excited to talk about them. The first one on the list is What We Do in the Shadows. This is one of my favorite shows of all time, not even just in the fall. It actually usually premieres in the summer, which is kind of funny to me. This is a satire, mockumentary type comedy show about vampires living on Staten Island. It is so funny, and I mean, anything involving vampires is obviously going to fit into fall, but this is just the best show ever. I love it. It's 30 minutes each episode, so you can get through it quickly, and there's already 4 seasons. I think the next season is its last one, and I'm so sad about that, but I love the show, and I will rewatch it all the time. I even made my boyfriend watch it on our 4th date for the first time, so I'm a big recommender of this show. It's currently on... I think it's currently watchable on Hulu in the US. I only really know where things are available in the US, so I'll let you know, but hopefully things are available from wherever you are. The next one is kind of Knives Out themed, and that is After Party. This was on Apple TV. It is a murder mystery show, but each episode is filmed in a different film genre style, so that makes it so much fun to view, and the acting is great, and it's just a great murder mystery. I feel like murder mysteries are very fall, so that's why I threw it in there. I wouldn't say every single episode is fall vibes. I think maybe season 2, maybe more so than season 1, but I think the fact that it uses so many different genres throughout makes it a very good fall pick. And the next show is one of my favorite shows of all time, and that is Outlander. I obviously know this is a series and that it's based on a long series by Diana Gabaldon, but I have not read the series. I have watched all of Outlander up till now. There's a new season hopefully coming out soon, but this show is about a girl in the 40s that somehow travels back into the 1700s Scotland and meets, a nice Scot and gets wrapped up in the war between Highlanders and England, and it's just a very good show. You get some romance, you get some war, you get politics. Very well done. Very dark scenes for sure. I want to warn you on that, but I still put it in this cozy part because Scotland is in and of itself fall. So, yeah. Don't. Hopefully you can't see him. Picard's doing weird things behind me. I'm sorry. Outlander is available on Starz in the US as well as Netflix. I think most of the seasons are on Netflix as well. So highly recommend if you've been considering it. Very much for the book girlies, I feel like. Can you hear him? He's biting his nails. The next show is Wildfire. This is a kind of older ABC family show in the US. If you're Canadian, think Heartland, but horse racing instead of fixing horses. So yeah, to me, farms and horses fit the fall vibe, and I loved this show growing up. I bought everything on iTunes when I could, and so I've seen this show so many times, but it's a good, heartwarming, family-friendly show, and kind of family-friendly. It's more teen and later. It's definitely a more young adult-facing show, not a kid's show, but very heartwarming and cozy, and lots of stuff happens, and lots of horses, lots of horse racing, and I loved it. Wildfire is on Netflix now, so that was exciting. I just found that out, and I rewatched the first 2 seasons already, so I may or may not love this show. Can you stop? Okay, thank you. The next show is a more recent view. I think we watched it the end of earlier this year, I think. And that is Goosebumps. It's the new remake on Disney Plus, and this one was so fun. We expected it to be younger than it actually leaned, and they definitely went darker, so it is darker rather than cozy, but because Goosebumps is so childhood and nostalgic to me, that's why I put it in the cozy vibes, because it is still like that, and it's not too intense. It's supposed to be like a teen show, so it doesn't go too dark, but definitely spooky. And I was surprised at how much we liked it. We really enjoyed it, so I recommend that if you've been thinking about that as well. That one is, I think, on Hulu and Disney Plus. The next one is based off of a very popular book, and that is Good Omens. That features David Tennant and Michael Sheen as an angel and demon that are trying to stop the apocalypse, and there's also a witch in there as well. Very fun, very silly, very fall vibes. Everything you could want in a fantasy for fall, it's right in there. Especially the first season, I would say. The angel has a little dark academia side as well, so it's fun. And then last but not least, one you've probably heard of before is Over the Garden Wall. I actually watched this for the first time like a few days ago, and I loved it. It was so funny and not as young as I thought it would be for a Cartoon Network show. There's 10 minutes per episode, and I think there's 10 episodes, so you can basically watch them in a row as a movie like we did. And yeah, very, very much fall vibes and funny, and they go on little adventures every episode, and highly recommend. This one I think we watched on Hulu. Next category, I'm going to cover fall drinks real quick. I'm drinking right now my favorite fall tea I've ever had. It is the seasonal fall tea at Trader Joe's. So I'm sorry to my international viewers that you don't have Trader Joe's around, because you are missing out on the lovely seasonal tea. It's literally called seasonal tea, or no, I lied. It's called Harvest Blend Herbal Tea, and it has a little fox on it. Very fall, right? They have this, I think, year round, honestly. I'm not entirely sure, so don't quote me on that, but it tastes like fall in a cup. So, yeah. Another fave of mine, and this time, is mulled wine. I studied abroad in London for a few months, and the thing I missed most about London is that I could buy mulled wine in a bottle at any grocery store. In the US, that's just not a thing, and I don't understand why, because, like, why wouldn't you? Like, we would have to make it ourselves here, which is a little more work than I want to do. So I've yet to do it myself, but I think I will this fall because I've been craving it, and it is the perfect warm drink, and I'm a big wine person, so it's right up my alley. Another cozy, like, alcohol infused drink is hot cider with whiskey, and it's also even better if you add in some tea bags from this or another like fall tasting tea, and it just makes a huge difference. You can add in some cinnamon sticks as well. It's so nice. You don't need a lot of whiskey, just a little to warm your stomach as it goes down. But I'm so excited to have these, and I'm glad I'm drinking this finally. This is my first time I'm drinking this in like a year. Next quick category before I get into books finally, which I know is why you're watching this video most likely, but that is my favorite fall activities. So a lot of these will probably fall into the October category, so I'll save some of those for the next part. But my favorite thing to do in fall is travel, especially because I live in Los Angeles and fall doesn't really happen until winter time. Like, our winter is actually fall weather. So I like to travel to places that have actual fall weather during fall. So this year I'm going to Switzerland and Lake Como, and last year I was also in Europe, kind of all around the Danube. And don't get me wrong, I do not go on these big trips every year. It just happened to be this past 2 years I've been traveling so much. But even going to the East Coast or even up into the mountains for a quick weekend trip, even going camping, like, fall is the perfect time. It doesn't rain here really until November time, I feel like, so it's easier to camp here in the fall. But even going to like a little cabin in the woods, yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do. I also love doing themed movie nights. That could be spooky, a cozy movie night, a horror film, and then we set up a little like fort on the floor with our couch cushions and pillows and make it all cozy and light some candles. That's always fun to do and very easy to do at home, you know, doesn't cost anything. Another thing is to go cafe hopping to cute little cafes that feel cozy and trying out different coffees and drinks and fall themed drinks. Oh, I forgot to say in the drink category, I'm not a pumpkin spice latte person. It's way too sweet for me. I am a year-round chai latte person, so I feel like that is very fall in like any form. I love chai, like iced, hot, dirty. I'll do that, but yeah, pumpkin spice latte, not so much. But they do other fall themed drinks at Starbucks that I'll try sometimes, the less sweet ones. But yeah, sorry. Back to activities. When it does rain, which for some of you that's probably happening sooner rather than later, I love to open the windows or the blinds and start reading, put on a little ambiance video on YouTube that's fall themed or dark academia themed, and just read a bit. So yeah, I'll get into the more Halloween-y activities for the next video. Okay, I'll put my tea down so we can get into the next part that you've probably all been waiting for, and that is cozy book recommendations. A lot of these you'll probably see on a lot of other fall recommendation videos, but you know me, these are the ones I've read. I only recently started reading as much as I do, so I have a lot to catch up on, but I want to recommend books that I loved, and hopefully you will too, if you haven't read them already. Starting off strong, first we have Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is a Regency era British fairy, or like, you know, evil and do bad things type of book, but still the vibes are very cozy. And this book is about a girl named Dora who, when she was younger, ran into a fairy who stole half of her soul. So she's a bit quirky, you know, she's a little different. And we follow her growing up into adulthood, trying to track down this fairy to get the other half of her soul back. And then she gets entwined with the Lord Sorcier, who is the, I guess, kind of magician of this world for the king. And yeah, they have a nice, sweet little romance. The vibes are great. It's a very quick, easy read. So if you're looking for something with a little more romance, but still not like heavy on the romance, there's no spice in this really. So it's a very delightful pick for the fall. Next, we have another book I've talked about on this channel already, and that is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. This one is already a duology. Map of the Otherlands as well. The Map of the Otherlands, I would say, is more fall because it is during fall, and this one is definitely more winter, but very fun to read in the fall as well because the vibes, the type of fairy, this is also kind of period piece British fairy as well. This one is a slow, atmospheric, vibey book, so not a lot happens until maybe the end, but it's very much a grumpy girl, sunshiny boy, lots of banter. She is a dryadologist who studies fairies at Oxford, and so she goes to this island to learn more about a group of fairy called the Hidden Ones. And she doesn't really get along with the people there, but then soon her rival slash maybe slight friend, Wendell, shows up to help her, and, you know, weird things ensue. A lot of mystery surrounds Wendell, and yeah, it's a very fun one. And I really liked this one as well. I think I liked the second one more. And then the third one is coming out soon, so I'm very excited for that. I'm not sure how long that series will be, but probably a few more, I think. The next book is one I actually read in fall last year, and that is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. This one is perfect if you like witchy books. It's not heavy on fantastical elements, it's more the witchy vibe. Set in northern England, you get all of the fall vibes you could want. It's found family, it's about a witch who has been hiding her powers but pretending that she's a fake witch online, and then is contacted by these people that want her to train other witches and go to a hidden manor in order to teach these kids. And of course there's a handsome librarian there, which, you know, they they get into a little tiff and things happen, and yeah, it's just a fun, very cozy, heartwarming story. I also read this like in a day when I was stuck in a cabin with my mom who had COVID, praying that I wouldn't get COVID, stuck on a river cruise boat. Luckily I didn't get COVID, but I was panicking. So I just like panic read this the whole time to keep my mind off of it. But that being said, I still really enjoyed this one. Very similar to The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, we have The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. This I was very surprised by. It wasn't like anything I had read before. I read this earlier last year, but I fully got immersed in it. The kids are the best part of this book. And also I really liked the character arc for Linus. I thought he did a great job with that. But this is the epitome of cozy found family. Odd group of creature kids and a little grumpy guy who gets soft-hearted for them. And so this follows Linus, who works for the Department in Charge of Magical Youth. DICOMY, I think, is the acronym. He is sent on a highly confidential mission to a small island off the coast where there is an orphanage for creatures, children that are creatures. And these are the very dangerous ones that no one wants to take care of. They do have a very sweet caretaker named Arthur. And so Linus is sent there to audit this orphanage and see what they can do, if it needs to get shut down and all of that. So he's there on a work mission, but, you know, things happen and, you know, things get cozy. He softens up a bit, and yeah, it's a very sweet book. And I love the cover of this. It's just like so cute. The next one, I wouldn't say is necessarily fall vibes, but I feel like it fits the fantasy for this time of the year. And that is Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I love this series. I fell in love with this book and the fairy tale vibes of it. So I highly recommend this one. I don't think I've brought it up yet on this channel, but this follows a girl named Evangeline who makes a deal with the Fate of Hearts to stop a wedding of her true love, and therefore she ends up owing him 3 kisses in return. Doesn't necessarily mean kisses with him, but kisses in general. And so a very, you know, interesting deal with the devil type thing ensues. She gets brought to this very fairy tale like land, and there's cute little dragons everywhere. It's just a very fun, like, not too intense, not crazy high stakes, but I would consider this cozy. I really think it's cozy, and I very much enjoyed it. So there's a trilogy and it's finished, so that's nice. And I did not read Caraval before this, so you do not need to, but there are spoilers in here for Caraval, I believe. So if you want to read Caraval, do that first. The next book is a very recent read, and that is Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. This is a dark fairy tale, but I would say has cozy vibes. The atmosphere and just something about it feels cozy, so just keep in mind it is darker themed. This one, along with Weird Sisters, which I'll talk about next, very similar witchy vibe. So Nettle and Bone follows a princess who ends up at a convent while her sister is married off to a prince and is not treated very well. So the princess goes on a mission to track down a graveyard witch in order to figure out how to save her sister. This gathers a ragtag team of interesting people, including a witch, a demon chicken, a dog made of bones, some godmothers. It's a very cozy atmosphere, but they're going on a hunt to do something very dark. So it's a very fun world. I really, really enjoyed this one, and I highly recommend it if you want to get into T. Kingfisher for sure. I wish I read this one before What Moves the Dead, because I didn't really like What Moves the Dead as much, but This one was great. And speaking of Weird Sisters, this is Weird Sisters by Terry Pratchett. This book is so funny and witty, and there's so much going on, and it is very cozy because nothing is too serious. The stakes aren't too high. Terry never takes himself seriously, I feel like, so it's a very easy book to get through. And this one follows a group of 3 witches that have hidden the heir to the throne that was overtaken by an evil duke and his wife. And it's about the fight between the witches and the duke, and the city gets angry at these witches and the duke, and it's just a whole kind of craziness ensues between all the elements of the kingdom. And yeah, it's very fun. I can't really explain more than that. The last one I would classify as like cozy fantasy would be Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. This one is, I feel, more magical realism than straight fantasy, but this is about a cafe that you can time travel in and all the stories of the people that do so. And so it's very emotional, very heartwarming. I cry almost every story. There's like 4 stories of different people in each book, sometimes more. It's also a series. I'm on the 2nd one right now. But the vibes of this cafe are the epitome of cozy. It's like sepia colored. There's weird clocks on the wall that don't say the right time. There's a ghost that sits at a table all the time. It's just, yeah, it's very perfect for fall, and it's easy to get through this. It's very short, and you can just take one story at a time. And so I highly recommend if you like short stories or just things that make you cry. The one book I have to recommend that's on the cozier side of dark academia is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. This is a chunker, but it is so delightful and cozy and Regency themed. There's evil fae, right along the lines of Half a Soul, but the characters are so fun and there's just so many. And it's about Mr. Norrell, who was a magician in an England where there is no more actual practicing magicians. There's just people studying magic. So he becomes popular as the only magician in England and moves to London to enter society, gets into politics. And then later on, we find out that Jonathan Strange has also become a practical magician. And then they join forces for some crazy things. And it covers a lot of English history, the Napoleonic Wars. And yeah, it's just fun. And I put this on the cozy side because it reads so lighthearted. Even though some things are pretty dark, it reads very sweet and lighthearted and funny. And if you've read anything from Susanna Clarke, like Pure Nessie, you'll understand. But Pure Nessie, I feel like, is darker than this book for some reason. So that will probably be in the next video. But this is, I love this book. Only 2 more to go, so I'll make it quick. I'll try to. One romance recommendation I have is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is a paranormal romance with vampires and werewolves. I recently talked about this in my wrap-up, but I loved this book. It was so funny. It was a good reprieve from all the heavy stuff that I usually read, and she does such a good job of writing humor that I guess fits me. It probably doesn't fit everyone, humor is subjective, but it was so fun. And like the spice, yes, it was cringy and weird, and she's just not good at writing spice. But apart from that, I think it was very well told story and just, yeah, good vibes. And so if you want a little vampire werewolf action, True Blood-esque, like, this is your book. And last but not least is the one gothic book that I will put on the cozy side as well, and that is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This is a duology. I read both, and I fell in love with the atmosphere of this book. If you want misty woods in a gothic kingdom with castles themed after trees and a magic system based off of something like tarot cards with its own lore that you learn throughout, this is the book for you. It's not like the best written book, and it is YA, but I loved this series. I don't know what, I think it was the vibes mainly. And so I gave both of these books 5 stars. They're just like immaculate to me. And so I had a great time with these. It follows a girl named Elspeth who, after touching one of the Providence cards, ends up with a nightmare in her head, and she goes on a journey to figure out how to get rid of him, and also runs into the captain of the Royal Guards, or whatever it's called in the book. And he's on a journey to find all the Providence cards to unite them to solve the mist, because the mist brings people into the forest and kills them. It's very spooky, and I don't want to get into too much detail, but yeah, I love these and I will recommend this always. And I don't think I've ever talked about this on the channel yet, but it's a very popular book. I mean, everyone's talking about it, or everyone's read it, and I know it's big on Book Talk, and so you've probably heard of it, but I highly recommend. And that wraps up my cozy edition of my favorite fall things. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got some good recs, get some ideas for some drinks. Only if you're of age, please drink the alcohol ones. I am excited to do more fall videos. Like I said, you'll get a part 2 of this, which is a darker, spookier version. So I hope you have a good rest of your evening, and thank you for watching. Bye!